Personal selling, sales, one of the quintessential aspects. And if you think about it, and I know a lot of people say, I'm never going to go into sales. We're always selling our whole lives. Think anything that you've ever pitched to somebody and really wanted them to believe in, whether it's you pitching something to go on a trip or to purchase a car or needing support for anything, how are you in that sales mode? So now we're going to learn how really sales is the engine that drives so many brands. So selling, obviously, from old school days, they had calls, solicitors on call. A lot of that is done a little bit less, but still, many of you may still be getting calls, especially within this new upcoming, whether it's a political environment or new season, lots of phone calls, lots of finding out where your support is going to lie. Online personal selling, in terms of how you develop and build a brand online and how you pitch and work with other people to supply your resources. And then obviously teleconferences, and of course the core, which is face-to-face, really building relationships. So looking at that, professional selling as a career. Maybe you've thought about it, maybe you haven't. When I first started my career, I was a merchandiser for Nestle Food Company. I had 300 accounts up and down northern New Jersey as well as New York. That merchandiser was a salesperson. I had specific products that were always in the supermarkets, but I had to make sure they were in the right position, we had the right facings, that our sales represented what value we were getting from that specific store chain. So as a sales rep, my core responsibility was to build relationships, but have them understand the value that Nestle brought to them so we could really enhance, whether it was more facings on a shelf or depth or opportunities for cross-selling promotional within the stores that I manage. So sales reps are really, really essential, and when we look at it from the marketing perspective, some of our graduates are starting out with 70, 80,000 and then moving up from there. Pharmaceutical sales can be very lucrative, as well as computer technology, a variety of different sales and recruiting. So those are key aspects for brands. Sales are where it lies. So the value added by personal selling, really considering building that personal relationship. So there is a company called Tom James, and they sell high-end suits. And their core business is built on building relationships. They wear their product, so their product, they always look great in a suit, and their conversations usually start by someone saying, I like your suit, and they say, well, that's funny because I actually sell these suits. Can I help you out? So it's really interesting. It's also interesting where the sales reps within Tom James sometimes go. They will specifically go to high-end banking areas within Charlotte. That's a really deep location for them. But you think about the product that they're selling and what target audience they're looking for. They're looking for more business professionals, maybe a little bit more in the C-level suite, if you will. But those salespeople really work very hard to build those relationships and then have accounts all over the country. So the personal selling process, clearly either generating and qualifying leads, or maybe somebody is giving you a list. Maybe it's a preset list of contacts. Somebody left the position, you're now taking the position. There's a variety of ways to get those leads. Honestly, cold calling is probably the hardest. I would not recommend it. I would always look to see if there is a structure and territory that you can take over. So whether it's a Nestle or an Otis or Ferguson or wherever, look towards sales opportunities that have a really strong company behind them, and also a strong training as well as promotional pathway for you. So generating quality leads, and then the pre-approach, sales presentation to the key people. Some sales you can pitch and you can get a response right away. Others takes longer time. Think about it from a B2B perspective. If you're trying to sell the newest, latest computers to Virginia Tech, one meeting is not going to just cover it and you're going to make the sale. It's going to take multiple meetings with multiple people depending on who's in the driver's seat, who's the core decider within that. So looking at it from closing the sale, following up, and then overall, how do you generate and qualify leads? So you look at it. It could be current customers. It could be word of mouth or references from those current customers, networking events, clearly online, and trade shows, as well as a variety of others. But online, many of you should already have a LinkedIn profile. I have over 4,000 contacts on my LinkedIn, and I utilize them for a variety of different ways. There's ways to source them out depending on how many people, and I look at my connections, how many people are in marketing versus engineering, in what parts of the country, and how many alums from Virginia Tech work in those areas, in those specific companies. So you can drill down, and online, it's really effective to start building those relationships, and LinkedIn is definitely a tool, whether you're selling your own personal brand for a job or you're looking at it for other corporate needs. Generating leads, cold calling, and telemarketing, not sometimes the best. It's really about building relationships, understanding people, doing research beforehand. Pre-approach, Understanding who you're approaching, what they're doing, understanding their brand, understanding challenges, understanding the brand's competitors, the marketplace. How educated are you before you walk into that meeting? Are you prepared to answer any question? And even the questions that you can answer, do you have a response for? Such as, I don't have a response to that, but let me check back. And really making sure that they know that every single time you're going to provide value back to them. It's not just you're going to provide an answer of some sort because they need an answer. You really want to make sure you respond to them based on what they're asking. Sales presentation, overall presentation, going into it, whether it's a large-scale group or a one-on-one, how are you going to set your presentation up? Does the company have templates? What do they want you to pitch? What is it, different products that are in the pipeline at different times? For Nestle, we had different products that we would promote at different times of the year based on seasonality, based on integrated marketing communications. So how does the sales rep and what they're presenting align with what the corporate structure is and the marketing strategy and objectives are? All of that has to come into play. Looking at it differently, a little bit differently, personal selling with the B2B buying process. So personal selling, you're generating quality leads. B2B buying process, kind of understanding it in terms of going through all of this as a personal rep, but understanding from the B2B side what they have to do. The need recognition first, product specifications, an RFP, request for proposal. Right now I'm on a committee with Virginia Tech. We're going through that right now. 10 companies have provided the proposal. We're determining what the proposal provided, rating it all in terms of price and the plan and references and recommendations. Then we'll bring certain key companies in to present, and then we'll make the decision and the final selection of the company. So this same way, reps really tie in very strongly to this and looking at the proposal, the order, the performance assessment, so any of these. So knowing that you are going to present or pitch to Virginia Tech, what might you say in terms of maybe the team that's on board? Maybe you would note one of our team members is a Virginia Tech alumni member. They're an alumni member, which strengthens our team because they know the university inside out from the student perspective, and that's why they'd be a perfect team to work on your project. So wherever it may be, these little nuances are really important to find because that can be the POD, the point of differentiation with your firm winning business over another firm. So important to note about your process as well as how that aligns with a company looking for a new vendor or a new product, whatever the needs may be at that time. Closing the sale, tough skin is required, the no aspect, 7 seconds of silence, really understanding and listening and experiencing spin selling, but really understanding what the consumer needs, listening, and whether that's the right time to close the sale or following up for another day to close the sale on that day, or depending on who is in the room. Are the key decision makers there? Are the users? Everyone that really has to confirm that that is the sale, you made it at that point. And then follow up clearly, looking at it from a variety. A lot of these points you may be very familiar with in terms of reliable, responsive, assurance, empathy, and intangibles. How do you follow up? Is it just a quick online email thanking them? Is it anything personal? A handwritten personal note? How do you make an impact as a rep to really stand out? Because remember, you're building a relationship like anything else in life. So as you would personally build a relationship, you'd go above and beyond to establish yourself. Think the same way in a business aspect. So managing the sales force, perhaps you're a district manager running a sales force. So you've got the overall structure. How is it structured nationally? Or is it different accounts? Do you have different district managers and then they have managers underneath them that train and manage other people? The overall structure, how you recruit and select salespeople. Do you go to career fairs? Do you hire younger people, just recent graduates, older people? What is the overall structure? What's training, like we talked about? Compensation, and how do you evaluate? How do you really promote or define the sales reps are really, really doing the best job that they can, but they're also being managed and provided opportunities as well. And looking at different structures, large company structure versus manufacturing. Company sales force, the employees, they've got specific product lines. When I worked for Nestle, I had certain product lines that I always work towards. Sometimes independent agents, Manpower, other ones will come in and check shelves. They don't work for Nestle or M&M Mars or Hershey. They work as a sales force, and someone has hired them to just go in and check a variety of products. So they're going in and checking those. Sometimes when a company does not have their own sales force, they'll hire special agents. And then recruiting and selecting people. The key aspect is sales. There is personality involved. It is required. And when I mean that, and when I say that, I mean primarily how you develop and build a relationship. You gotta have that positive energy, but you also have to know when you're selecting a salesperson, they'll take a little time to really understand someone else's needs. So it's not all, how you doing? Let me buy it, let me sell you this car right now, right here. It's along the lines of, how are you? And understanding how that person is and really building a relationship over time. When I worked for an agency and I was a VP account supervisor for Ogilvy, lots of our different clients, Unilever was an account. We worked with the team of Dove. We understood and we did research. We were partners with them. We weren't just vendors, we were partners. How do you partner with your clients for ultimate success? That's the true goals of a salesperson, and understanding really the value, and not just above sales and making the numbers every single day, but building value. Sales overnight, brands and relationships over time. That's the qualifying piece. In sales training, just some examples of different companies, whether it's Nestle and they fly you out to California for months, or Ferguson or another company. Every company trains their sales employees. You'll go through deep down training. You may go through shadowing as well. You may go through checks along the way to make sure that you were trained initially. Now maybe there's new procedures, there's new product launches, how you're being trained. These are all questions from your end to ensure that the company is providing. And motivating and compensating people, whether it's financial rewards for certain sales goals that they reach, or really showcasing non-financial rewards. Employee of the month, employee of the week, really giving them press, really giving them thanks, constantly motivating and letting people know the great job that they are doing, which is really important for sales reps, especially since they are autonomous. A lot of times you're going to be out on the road or by yourself. You need to understand you have that foundation of support and your company is there for you. And of course, ethical and legal issues involving personal selling. Many years ago, whether it was pharmaceutical companies or food companies, all sales reps would swap things back and forth in the back of the trunks. Pharmaceutical reps oftentimes would bring catalogs to physicians and say, what can we purchase for you if you write my prescription for the next month or so? Well, the FDA learned of this very quickly, as well as some other government officials, so there's some really hardcore lines. Pharmaceutical reps cannot give a physician anything above $100 all year long, and there's certain key aspects they can give. So if you've noticed the reduction of pens or pads within your doctor's offices, that's a direct correlation to what they can get from pharmaceutical companies, because they do not want to be provided these items that would look as bribes or whatever to write their prescriptions. A lot of these legal and ethical issues, and that brings it back to you. If something doesn't seem right, doesn't feel right, ethically, legally, from overall what your core is, make sure you mention it, make sure you highlight it, and make sure you question it. And that is it for our chapter on personal selling, one of the key pieces. Looking forward to seeing you again, but I hope you found all of these lectures beneficial. Always email me, any questions whatsoever, but we'll see you again real soon.